Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. Again, your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we're glad to hear it. And, when we want to find out information, want to find out what's going on at our parish level, certainly at our state level, there's places to go. And we're so very glad to have our friend and colleague, Jessica Domangue, back to do that. Hi, Jess. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me here again.
Absolutely. Of course, Louisiana State Representative, District 53 in Terrebonne Parish. And so amazing how things have we were just sitting down here talking about our history together as social workers, way back when at Terrebonne General, and now just all of the good things that you've been able to do. And so congratulations again.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Isn't that cool?
It has been cool.
Yeah.
It's been a roller coaster, but it's been really cool.
Yeah. And just being able to do that and just kind of being what you need for your family and taking care of things and just being able to work basically 2 full-time jobs. It's amazing to be able to do that. But people lean on you to find out information, right?
Yeah.
And what we're looking at. And so let's talk a little bit about this special session next week.
Yeah, so as everyone knows in the news, Governor Landry has called a special session on crime, and this is his big thing that he's passionate about, is crime, and we know it affects everybody in every walk of life. We see it everywhere. It affects us here in Terrebonne Parish. We had some unfortunate incidents just over the Mardi Gras holiday, and so
right.
We all get hit with it every day. And so I think crime is really important. And so we're going into this 3-week special session starting on Monday. The governor has made a call. And so he's got some really interesting things on that call that I think are going to impact people a lot. And there are some very controversial bills as well that are going to be coming up as well. And so you'll be seeing a lot in the news about that session and about the things that are coming out of that session.
Oh, very good. Well, we're really glad to have your insight about that. And so are there some things that we can talk about that we know what we're going to expect?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that I've been getting emails from and calls from constituents in my area is concealed carry. So people are very much excited about concealed carry. Louisiana is probably one of the only southern states that does not have a concealed carry law. And so that has been drafted on the Senate side as well as on the House side to be able to go ahead and move that forward. To all the emails that I received, I just want to tell my constituents I am in support of concealed carry.
Okay.
And so that will be a really exciting conversation for us to have as far as which direction the state wants to go. Of course, I'm only one of 105 votes.
But one that matters, right?
One that matters. Sometimes I feel like it's a little bit, but no, I've got a big voice, and so we'll make sure that the constituents and the people of Terrebonne Parish have their voice heard, because I do know that this is a very pro-gun area, and so we will make sure that their wishes are taken into account with that. Some other things that are on this call, and I had kind of highlighted some of my notes. Okay. Lowering the age of consideration as a juvenile in the criminal justice system.
Okay.
So meaning whenever someone does a violent crime and they are at a certain age, we're now going to look at that person as an adult. Okay. So a 17-year-old who commits a violent crime, with the system that we have now, would be tried as a minor. However, we have seen a huge influx of very, very violent crimes committed by minors. And so I think that's a really good deterrent. I hate to say consequences, but I feel as though maybe if a minor knows that they may go to jail for life for doing something really, really bad, like murdering somebody, maybe they may think twice. Right. So I do think that may be something to help people. I know that's going to be another controversial topic.
Is that a proposal by 1 year, or is there an option or proposal? Because I'm thinking there's not a whole lot of difference between a 16 and 17 and 18-year-old.
Right.
And I'm just kind of thinking, a 16-year-old should know better as well.
Right. And the way the bill's read, and for what I've seen, it's 17 to 21, and the current is 18 to 21. Okay, gotcha.
Yes, okay, and again, but anyway, if we stop one violent crime, then it's worth it.
Right, absolutely. And that's something, part of the debate process and part of going through the committee process is it may come up that it may come up and they say they want to lower it to 16. And so that's the beauty of democracy and the beauty of our process is that we will have those those conversations. And we've got some great people on those judiciary committees. And so we'll definitely be interested to see how that turns out.
Okay.
Another one that we've got, revoking parole. This is for, once again, these really, really bad players.
Okay.
People who do really, really bad things. That's not quite as easy for them to get parole, or if they do something bad while they're on parole, to get those paroles revoked. So I also think that's going to be a deterrent. And once again, we're talking about consequences. Another interesting one that I thought was really interesting was increasing the penalties for DUIs. And so it seems as though our current laws are, your first DUI, you get a slap on the wrist. The second DUI, you get a little bit of bigger slap on the wrist. And your third, you get jail time. And so this is going to increase those penalties. And unfortunately, we actually saw a high-profile death this weekend in New Orleans by a musician who was killed by a drunk driver. And so anything we can do to stop people from doing that. And there's no reason why you should drink and drive. We have Uber.
We
right?
have way too many
Right,
options for people to not have to do that. And so, Jessica, it seems like there's some really interesting crime bills. I got several questions about it. I know a lot of people have.
Yep.
We're going to take a short break.
Absolutely.
And so let's come back and talk a little bit more about some of those crime discussions that are going to be had. I like the fact that we're answering some of the hard questions.
Absolutely.
Right? And it seems like Governor Landry is really interested in doing that. Yeah, very good. All right, we'll be right back. Jessica's going to stay with us. You do as well. We're going to be right back. More discussions right here on Bayou Time. Don't go anywhere.
So.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough. Alford and Associates, for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality. Terrebonne General Health Systems, modern technology and timeless caring. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. Again, your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker. Thanks for joining us, however you may be joining us. Very glad to have with us once again, Louisiana Representative District 53, Jessica Domangue with us. Jess, thanks again for being here.
Thank you so much.
And so we're talking a little bit about some of these penalties and, DUI penalties. I got to tell you, it's one of those things, I was in that format growing up when Mothers Against Drunk Drivers were really getting started. I mean, I've got 12 friends now that have been killed, or parents of them that have been killed from drunk drivers. And, driving while under the influence is it just doesn't make sense, especially in this world that we have of options. Everybody's got options. And we talk about it all the time with some of our law enforcement. Making a plan is just one of those things. So I love getting stricter on those laws.
Absolutely. And a lot of the bills that you're going to see, for me anyway, a lot of it seemed like common sense. And I know that we do want to have stricter penalties for some of these people so that we can deter some of these crimes. And so I was very excited to see this. One of the probably the most controversial bill and the most controversial conversation we're going to have is on the death penalty.
Okay.
We do have death penalty laws here in the state, in Louisiana. In 1991, our death penalty went into effect. However, it's only by lethal injection electrocution at this point.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes. So the death penalty, they're going to tighten that up a little bit.
Okay.
And they're now going to propose that it be injection of lethal substance, nitrogen hypoxia, or electrocution.
Okay.
And so, kind of making that a little bit wider. Once again, I have not been in the conversations or heard the specifics of who qualifies, what qualifies, or
Right.
anything like that. However, that will be one of the probably the most controversial and time-consuming debates that you're going to see in this session. I believe that's why we'll be there for 3 weeks. Is
Yeah,
because,
exactly. And that's why it was called for that long.
Right.
You know, the one thing I wonder, kind of just from a sociological standpoint, if there's ever the option given to the person who is sentenced to death. If now, I mean, we've not had an option before. It was only by electrocution. But now, if there's the option, I would just kind of wonder sociologically what the thought process would be. For me, it would be whatever cost our taxpayers less money.
Right.
Quite frankly, you know, and I don't know what those are.
Right. And, you know, I debate this one a lot with myself, and I kind of go back and forth of, you know, do we support it? Do we not support it? Kind of what are my feelings and what are my thoughts on this one? But if you look at the root of it, can you think of about 5 crimes that you absolutely think, yes, that person should be sentenced to death? I know I can, right?
Yeah.
And there's probably more than 5, but there's a few, and there's a few locally that have occurred that I can think of that touched all of us that I think, yeah, that person probably deserves the death penalty and does not deserve to be paid to live on our taxpayer dollar.
Yeah.
So once again, I don't know which way that conversation is going to go. I don't even know how much support they have on this. But it will be, once again, a very interesting conversation to hear during this session.
Yeah, it's why y'all are getting together, quite frankly, right? And I love the idea that we need somebody to look at this. You know, I mean, that particular bill is, you know, it's 34 years old, you know, that of what we're doing. And we need to revisit those sometimes just to see, you know, is this where we want to be? Is this what our state wants to do, and how we do that? And so you're right. That one's going to be a big discussion point, and what dictates that, right? You know, what crimes is it that dictate that? I can tell you, I can think of a few of those as well as things that we've seen, things that you and I deal with in our professional world, messes that we kind of clean up, if you will, and how we help people just, you know, never make sure that doesn't happen to another person.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
So we've got like a couple minutes left. Do we have enough time to get to budget?
Please, let's hit the budget. Yeah, let's do that. In fact, one of those things you may be able to kind of help. Thanks for doing that, by the way. Let's run through those slides real quick, Aaron, and we'll let Jessica give us a little bit of a discussion. Tell us about the revenue estimates.
Okay, so Governor Landry presented his budget last week, and so I'm sure several people saw in the news that we're going to be doing some cuts. The governor is going to be doing some cuts. This is your revenue forecast. As you can see, this year is going to be flat, and then we're expecting a significant decrease in revenues. We're also seeing that on a local level. We had a huge influx because of COVID and because of Ida.
Right.
And those things have now flattened, and they've gone down.
And they're
there are
going
other
away.
contributing factors as well. However, I think for us, that's the biggest ones.
Okay.
So we can see that.
Next one.
That's the first thing that's going to happen. This is kind of your revenues and expenditures. So you can see that we're going to have a $558 million shortfall in the 5-year forecast. We're going to drop our revenue by about 3.47%, and our expenditures are going to increase by 0.65. So if you have a drop and an increase, that doesn't really, so we're definitely going to have to balance some things out and do some cuts as well to be able to stop this spending. So
interesting on the next one here, this historical spending gives us an idea. Again, you mentioned the COVID funds and what those did.
Yeah, so if you look about 3/4 of the way down on that red line, you could see where COVID spending began, and it just skyrocketed. And so all that COVID relief money has ended. So we can't project our budget based on money that's not going to be recurring and continuing to come in. That's on a local level as well. We just don't have those dollars anymore. So you're really going to see some cuts to our budget because we just don't have those revenue sources coming in.
Yeah, and again, it's just one of those things that we look at overall and kind of seeing, again, that COVID money, that item money, it's gone now. And now we're going to make some tough choices about that. So, Jess, thanks for coming on, give us some insight about the crime bills, and more importantly, helping us with the budget. We appreciate it very, very much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it too.
All right, guys, that'll do it for this particular segment of Bayou Time. Thank you for watching. We'll be right back here with HTV. Don't go anywhere.